Tilly's is a retail clothing company founded in California. It is owned by the corporation World of Jeans and Tops. They are a publicly traded company with stores in 33 states. Prior to 2019, Tilly's used to have a 2-hour call-in policy. This policy applied to any employees who had on-call shifts, requiring them to call in approximately 2 hours before they were supposed to start their shift to see if they were needed to come in to show up to work that day. This policy ended up having some repercussions, as we'll see when we analyze the case of Ward versus Tilly's. In this case, Ward identified the policy that employees were required to contact their stores approximately 2 hours before their on-call shifts. Ward also noted that employees that failed to call in their shifts or contacted the store too late could be punished, including termination. Tilly's also did not recognize that these call-ins were reporting to work and therefore did not pay their employees for when they called in. In an interview with HR consultant Terry Olson, she goes in more depth about what the issue was in this particular case.
I would say that probably restaurants and retailers, dress shops, any kind of retailer is probably the most common industries that you will see these types of situations. But if an employee is, called in and then sent home early, or maybe they're called in to work a second time and then they don't work the full second half of the shift, then that's what we are very familiar with as reporting time pay. So the same scenario. In this case, it was Ward versus Tilly's. They had an employee that was questioning what reporting for work meant. And so the decision was, what does that mean? And the plaintiff was looking at the industrial work orders, and specifically because Tilly's is a retailer, they were looking at work order number 7. The case was on-call shifts, call-in shifts. When people call in and stuff, are they entitled to reporting time pay even if they didn't physically show up for work?
Tilly's argued that since the employee did not physically show up to work, they were not reporting for work and therefore did not qualify for reporting pay. Before we take a look at the result of this case and the outcomes that followed, let's take a look at how we can analyze this case using our positive business trajectory strategies. Since the discussion of this case talked about the borderline of being illegal or legal, we have to move into the public-private relations analysis. The issue at hand did reach many zones of impact. It was in the local, state, and country regions. This issue also violated the implied duty of integrity for Tilly's. Even though they may not have known that they were doing something wrong, it was causing harm to their employees. It was Tilly's internal policy that stated that an employee is only reporting to work once they show up physically for their shift. However, by the time the case was over, the judge ruled that this is not true. They stated that reporting to work can be in any physical form or over the phone. This included the on-call shifts that Tilly's would get for their employees, whether they physically had a report in or not. Tilly's was found in violation of wage order number 7, and this led to other companies being sued and changing their policies because of this outcome. Tilly's has since changed their policy and no longer issues on-call shifts for any employees, and other companies were soon to follow. This changed the standard in California, what qualifies as reporting to work. These on-call call-ins, even if they did not have to physically show up to work, were now counting as reporting to work and qualified the employee for at least 2 hours of pay. Cases like this need to happen in order to make positive changes in the business environment, not just for the retail world, but for all types of businesses.